Hi, I am Jan Reardon, and I am representing the Jennifer Reardon Foundation. I am a board member of Jen's Foundation that has been created by my brother. And basically, the work that we do all revolves around just areas that were very near and dear to Jen's heart and obviously to ours as well. So the four pillars of Jen's foundation are women's empowerment, early childhood education, financial literacy, and community vitality. And so this show, which we're so happy to be able to bring to the public every month on the third Thursday of each month, we invite guests to join us that tie into one of those pillars. And today's guest is someone that I've been, talking with over the phone. I have not met in person, but I am just so pleased to be able to get to know someone, certainly, at this age, to really hear her experiences and how kindness has, impacted her life and the lifestyle that she leads. And my guest is the recipient of the first annual Jennifer Reardon Presidential Scholarship. There's an endowment that was put in place with my brother, and it all began with Jen actually being involved in this presidential scholarship through Wells Fargo. And the person that she had selected, Rachel Shank, she received the scholarship, and when Jen had passed, she reached out to my brother Mike to be sure that we could keep this going in Jen's honor, revolving around that list that I gave of the pillars and things that mean so much to us now to carry on Jen's spirit. And the criteria for the scholarship, which Malia, who I'll introduce in a minute, checked every box a couple of times. Basically, just it follows in with Jen and who she was and is to us. But she, just experience in the nonprofit world or volunteering, charitable type of work, loving, volunteer work and helping other people, either communication, education major. It's a 4-year scholarship, which I'm just so pleased that Malia, what I know of her, it just could not have gone to a better person. And I'm just so grateful to have this time to be able to talk with her, again, from her perspective at this age, to have so much wisdom and so much confidence in herself to be able to make this world a better place. So I'd like to first of all say hello, welcome. Malia's in New Mexico right now at the University of New Mexico, where the scholarship obviously has been granted. And she is joining us today just to be able to chat about really who you are and what you've done and what the scholarship means to you. So we'll just go through a few questions, and I can't wait until I'm out there one of these days and I get to meet you in person and we can go grab a cup of coffee or some green or red chili, whichever you like. I'm all about it. So we'll get together out there. But at least for now, this is fabulous to be able to have you zoom in and get your perspective on things. So welcome to you, Malia. Thank you so much for being here.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited for this opportunity.
I have
I
as
can't wait
well.
for the conversation. Yes, definitely.
Wonderful.
And express what this means to me.
Okay, fabulous. So why don't we just start, if it's okay, just if you can talk a little bit about what kindness means to you.
Yeah, of course. So I think ultimately the number one thing that I've learned in my short experience of life is that times where I felt low, kindness, a small act of kindness or someone's small compliment here or there has really picked me up. And so I think kindness isn't necessarily these grand gestures, but I think kindness is going out of your way to approach every interaction and thought, with the, intention of helping or even lifting up other people. That's
Absolutely.
really, yeah, the
It,
biggest
it
thing
is
about kindness
amazing
for me.
how
And so,
right, it makes you feel so much better
yeah,
to see how the
and even if it's,
recipient has received it
yeah,
and feels so good, and it keeps you upbeat as well. I love that sensation. It's just thankfully who we are as human beings.
yes, and it's even if it's not necessarily reciprocated, you know that you're going out of your way to maybe make someone else's day, or even it fills you with gratitude and kind of gives you perspective on being grateful for the little things every day.
Absolutely. We overlook so many things. And when you stop and think about that, it's life altering. It changes, your mood. It changes your chemistry. I love the fact that Explora obviously has the Science of Kindness exhibit. And I was there in the early stages when there were prototypes. And again, I can't wait to go. Maybe that's where we could go. Shoot over there
Yes.
and take a nice tour, because to see really the science behind kindness, it makes you feel as though there's hope for the future. And we know that this is the right path to be on, and just to do our part to make the world a better place as much as we can in our own communities. And people like you will be really our future. And I thank you for all that you do, and the type of person, obviously, that you are, from how you were selected. And I know it's a pretty grand list of people that apply, and the fact that you were selected is definitely very significant. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was very emotional and very gratifying to be able to receive the scholarship, and on top of it, to be able to receive it from you guys, and the fact that you guys are active participants in my success rather than, it's a transactional thing. It's just been so amazing
Exactly.
to be able to
That
be part of
does.
this and have these conversations with you and Mike. So I'm very appreciative.
Well, thanks. I love the fact that it's personal. Otherwise, we'd be getting messages from Jen. That would not be okay. So it's good that it's personal, and I know this is something that she would be very, very appreciative of. So can you give us an example of how someone's act of kindness has impacted your life?
Yeah, so I think this is honestly a two-part thing for me. So my dad is a special education teacher, and he's honestly one of the reasons why I want to go into education. But
Beautiful.
he has a student who I graduated with. His name is Paul Ortega, and we went to school with Paul from a young age. So he was a very normal child, and as he's grown, and they don't know necessarily why, but his function has began to deteriorate. So not his mind, but his function, his ability to eat and speak and walk. And so I think one of the biggest things for me in the terms of kindness is that every day when I would pass Paul in the hallways, he would always talk to me or greet me. And I think he knew me a little more necessarily than the other students because of my dad.
Right.
And so the fact that, some things are going on in other people's lives that you don't necessarily know about. And for me, I didn't
Exactly.
understand how fast that was deteriorating, but he was going out of his way to make my day better. And so I think for me, that is still remained one of the top moments in my life, of just being able
Absolutely.
to share that hallway with him in those classrooms. And he and I actually, we went to prom together once, and
Oh,
I
that's
think,
beautiful. What great
yes, so
memories.
yes, I always try to reciprocate that kindness. I mean, I still write him a letter every Christmas, and
And
I
where
try to
is
go
Paul
visit.
now? Does he still live in Silver City in New Mexico?
Yes, he does. And
Beautiful.
yeah, unfortunately, we wish we could keep him forever, but because of the program, they only keep him till 21. And so, but he's at a different program now where they do all sorts of different outdoor activity, and he has a little more stimulation. And my dad and I still really try to keep in contact with him and his
Beautiful.
family. So that is the number one thing that I've always kept in terms of how I want to approach other interactions in my life. Especially, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about adversity too, but when I think of champagne problems I may be having in my life, I really refer to Paul and how he always went out of his way for me and for other people within the school to just make our days.
Right. And I really didn't talk much about, like, now that you're at UNM, the University of New Mexico, how many students are at UNM?
Oh, I think I looked up the number this summer, and it was about 25,000
Oh,
undergrad,
yeah.
just undergrad. And
That's a good
so
size.
there's,
UVM here is about, 15 or 16,000, so it's quite a bit larger than that, which is exciting. How many, like, in most of your classes, how many students do you have?
I would say it depends. So now that I'm further in my program, I have about 30 to 40, but
Very nice.
had one class where I had 750 students in one hall.
Oh boy, yeah, that's a big school.
Yeah, I felt bad for the professor. He had to wrangle all of us, but we
Well,
managed.
right. And what are your thoughts as far as, upon graduation? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What's the dream for down the road?
So luckily, I've been very fortunate to have parents who want to really expose me to a lot of things, and I've traveled an okay amount, and so when they were able to provide me with these opportunities, I've always known I wanted to do something with traveling, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew I loved the classroom, and I couldn't imagine myself outside of it.
Right?
And so one day, my mom was like, "Well, why don't you do international teaching?" And I was like, "That's the most amazing idea!"
Fabulous. Right.
So after
It's like you were born
graduation,
to do that.
yes.
Right.
And so after graduation, I plan on doing that while I'm young, and I'll probably be there for a couple years and eventually make my residence back, here in New Mexico. But I would love the opportunity to go travel and kind of gain a different world perspective. I think the biggest thing for me is I know that, yeah, I'll be teaching, but I'll also be learning a heck of a lot more maybe than I
Absolutely.
will even be teaching.
Right, right. That, you can't beat that life experience.
Yes, for
What
sure.
countries
And
are
so
you considering? What countries?
I would really love to go to Greece or
Beautiful.
Peru in South America.
Very
So
nice.
I don't know. We'll see where life takes me, but there's a couple programs I'm looking at, and I'm already going to start student teaching next year. And when my advisor told me that, I was like, I thought I was a freshman still. What do you mean?
Right. Well, that's talk about gaining experience, though. That's fabulous. The more, the better.
For sure.
Well, the students will be very fortunate to have you in that classroom. So
Thank
you
you.
certainly have selected the right major by the sounds of it. And
Thank you
how
very much.
about, we had talked about this in one of our conversations, but I'm just really curious, with somebody having your background and being compassionate and so kind and empathetic, what is your view on AI these days and how that enters into the world that we live in a very positive way? How do we keep that balance from your point of view?
I think it's extremely important. As a person, I'm not as well versed in technology as maybe some of my other, students or peers,
Sure.
even friends. And so I don't know as much about it. And that shouldn't necessarily scare me, but it does because I prize human interaction. I think I
Right.
gain the most out of that. I learn the most out of that for me personally. And so I think it's important to find that balance. Right now, there are no essential limitations on it,
Right.
I believe. So there has to be a way to wrangle both using it as a tool as well as maintaining human interaction because I think you even go to restaurants or other places and you don't necessarily have as many interactions with the waitress
I
or
know. Everything
any.
is so automated.
Yeah, and even when you order, you can order on a touch
Right.
screen, and so you lose that. How's your day going? Oh,
Right.
this snack, and you make so many connections just based off those initial acts of kindness. And so I think with AI, there can be a loss for that. And so I do believe in it as a tool, but I don't believe in it as taking shortcuts or trying to replace human interaction. So I don't know
Exactly.
how necessarily people can try to go about that because I
Blend
know it's going
that.
to continue to grow. And
They,
so my hope is that there's still human consideration rather than the idea of capitalism to continue to make monetary profit off of the loss of human interaction and the traction of technology. I hope there's
right.
still consideration for that human interaction.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm excited about it, and I do feel as though there have been so many things, certainly in the medical world, as an example, that have really benefited through AI and will continue to. World hunger is another example. We haven't been able to, really obviously solve that dilemma. And
Yeah.
with the help of AI and great people with the right focus, being able to move forward, I really feel as though it will make the world a better place and give us an opportunity again just to still keep that human compassion and touch, because otherwise we don't want to be, a bunch of robots going around. We need to, be supportive of one another and use that as a platform to better ourselves as a human race, which, I think it's easy to just look at maybe the negative side of it, but I feel as though there's a lot of positivity that will come out of this. And as long as we remain mindful of the fact that we do still need that contact with one another, because that's how, those are those lasting relationships that form our personalities and our being and enrich our lives. And, AI can take care of a lot of things that, we really haven't been able to, but that will free us up to be hopefully a better race and kinder to one another. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the future in that sense. I did see this show that was about this school in the Midwest, and when I first heard it, I just shook my head and thought, what is this world coming to? But again, if you stop and you think about the pros and the cons, there's a lot to be said. So this school has no teachers at all, not one. There's not a teacher in the school. So you think, oh, I'm turning this off. This is ridiculous, But what they've done, and the outcomes have been extremely successful. It's been 2 years now, and this program itself is grades 6 through 12, so middle school, high school. And since, like it or not, we're all wired in. We have our computers, we have our laptops, we have our phones. Students, obviously are different nowadays than they were 50 years ago. So we can't expect them to really learn the same way that, I did, for instance, because they're just wired differently because of life the way it is. So the children are set up, the school day is a little bit shorter. They are in front of their computer. They do all their learning that way, e-learning, they're right there, but they have a person in the class that is like a motivational coach, and that person is there to keep them excited, these kids are positive, they're feeling good, and as I said, the outcomes have been really positive. So it's like a restructuring of this with the educational component, obviously, being very advanced, but there's the human piece, and that's what this motivational, like a coach, is doing. So it's kind of a nice blend how they've folded education in with AI, so it takes care of one aspect of it, but then there's still, the social part of it that's a focus for the school. And these kids are having a great learning experience, and they're excited to learn, and that's what we need, obviously, is to get back to that point where kids enjoy going to school and they have those good relationships, and to get that balance going. So it was kind of exciting, and it'll be interesting to see in the future if some concept like that, takes grasp and we're able to go with it. I think there's some benefits to that. What are your thoughts about that? Yes.
That's really interesting, actually. And I think the idea that, they do sit in front of that screen, but they have the best of both worlds, And so I do agree. I think it is easy to look at the negative sometimes, but I think there are definite pros and cons to it, especially, education-wise, in New Mexico specifically, we're 50th in education. So there clearly needs to be
some change, right?
Some change, And so what does that look like? Does that look like more implementation of AI and the increase of motivation? Because I think a lot of times that's what people lack, is especially for teachers. I think my biggest mantra I want to be able to maintain is that if I have enthusiasm and passion in my everyday workday, maybe the students will be motivated to the same basic action.
You'll inspire the students, and I admire teachers. My degree is in education, and so obviously it's something that's very important to me. But I do, obviously you can't deny that, the times are so different, and we don't like everything being, that we're wired in and connected to all our devices, but that's the reality. And if we can minimize that in a very, conducive way, and also have that piece that's inspirational, who knows, that could be the model that really takes us to that next level. And it's really exciting. It's just a different style of teaching, and it's a different style of learning, but I think we need that now, because kids need to feel supported, and they need to feel inspired and motivated, and understand why are they learning this, to put value to it, instead of feeling like they're just going through the motions, and they can remember everything and retain things and get a good mark, but it didn't create a passion for them necessarily. And this way, with like the human piece, it's it's like you have that support system right there with you, in addition to being able to absorb all of that knowledge from the computer. So to me, it kind of seems like the best of both worlds. It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. I agree. And I see more of that implementation with my brother who's younger. And so I see
Right.
him using the computer more and using AI more. And so I always think about it. Well, his experience or my experience at that age looked very different.
So different,
I would say
right.
only about, 8 years difference. So it's just interesting to see how it's going to progress. And I
Exactly.
see the difference in learning. And, maybe I'm biased, but I think he is a very smart kid. But I think it's important for him to utilize it as a tool and not a shortcut. And so I've been trying to emphasize
Right.
that to him, and so I see those effects, and I agree with you. I'm very excited to see
Right.
how the education process is going to change, especially here in New Mexico with 50th in
Good
education. We'll see
point.
what kind of progress we make. We can only go up from here.
Well said, right. But
Yes.
no, it's exciting because to me it seems so much more efficient. Maybe we don't have to have kids in school from 8 to 3. Maybe, take an hour off of that and have that be something on the more social side, since they're so wired into technology during the school portion of the day when they're in the classroom. But there's so many other things that you can be doing with your peers and your, the admin and through athletics and through, just art and music and all those different things, and free people up for those type of things too, so they can learn through their passions. I just think that it gives us an opportunity to just reevaluate what has worked and what doesn't any longer, just with the world changing so much. It's good that we have options. We have to
Definitely. I
just
think
keep
that
that
idea
mantra of
too,
being
that
kind, loving, caring, and sharing, and that will help get us, to the next level where we can hopefully someday be more supportive as a nation.
oh, definitely, I agree. And being able to foster an environment where students can explore other avenues is
Exactly.
really, so it would be amazing. And I'm sure they would love the shorter school day as well.
Oh, I know. And then from there to get involved in, I mean, all sorts of, again, volunteer work and understanding the importance of being able to support your community, not destroy your community, but to get out there and make it better and be respectful of one another. I think it opens up opportunities for us to focus on that more, where right now teachers, they don't have a chance. They have too much to do. They're not going to be, oh, are you going to go, well, I mean, some can do this, but not as a general rule part of the curriculum, that we're going to have volunteer time to go out into the community and make it a better place to live. But I think this blends it together, and it puts a little bit more accountability on the student outside of the classroom as well. And hopefully they have the tools to be able to do just that, and help people around them, and again feel the value and the good of doing such things.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think with students, it takes away probably some of the stress for them too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unnecessary stress. Here you're being
Yes.
tested, okay, and you can memorize this, and then you forget it the next day. So what good did that do? So you did get an A, and that's great, but you don't remember anything, and it's not like you really grew as a result of it necessarily. I'm just talking, certain cases,
Yeah.
not right across the board, but why not alleviate all that stress and put it toward much better use and being more productive and results that you can see and feel around you? How
Definitely.
about adversity? Like, how do you handle adversity, and what kind of skills do you have, because you are so positive and able to move forward and do things, in such a kind way? What is your thought process on adversity and how you move forward?
I definitely think that it's subjective sometimes. I know for myself, I would still say I'm very young, but I think even with age, I've had to learn to be kinder to myself. For sure,
Right.
yes, I had a very bad habit of tearing myself down, but in reality, as I've grown, I've thought, okay, what does that do for me? How does that benefit me in any way?
Good
It
for
doesn't.
you
It
to
just makes
recognize that so early on.
Thank you. I've had to really train myself to say, okay, there's no point in stressing over something that's already going to happen. There's no point in beating yourself down, because it would make things 10 times worse for myself. And so rather than doing that, I think I kind of focus on, okay, taking it one step at a time. And I still have my moments, don't get me wrong,
Of course.
for sure.
We're all
And I
human.
think Yes.
But when
And
you
I
brought
think,
up, Lily, I just love the fact that you brought up self-care. And that's something that I know even through the foundation, there's a real focus on that through social media too, to remind people of the importance. I mean, we talk about being kind to others, and believe me, that's critical, but we have to be kind to ourselves first to be able to be that person for others. And so self-care should be something that is really a focus for people, you know, in the workplace, in school, in their community, at home. It starts right there, and it's something that you just can't have in different areas of your life. You really need to apply that to yourself throughout your life, just to enjoy the experience. So
I
what
think
types of things do you do for self-care?
for self-care, the biggest thing I like to do is I like to turn on my favorite show, and I love sweet treats. I'm a
Good for
big
you.
sweet so
Right.
my way of treating myself when I'm stressed, maybe it isn't always the best, but I go out and get myself a treat.
Hey, good for you. That's a pretty nice
Yeah.
solution right there, right?
Yes. And also too, I think I'm a person who, again, it's different for everyone, but I feel like I have to talk through my feelings or else I keep them bottled. And so I always talk to my mom or my
That's
friends,
so
and
important.
yeah. And it's easy to
Just
overlook
to don't,
self-care, I think. A
not
lot of
keep
people
things to
do.
yourself.
Yeah. I think it's very easy to overlook self-care, and sometimes people think, oh, well, I don't have the time, or it doesn't work. Well, and maybe I've almost maybe had that approach once in the past, but the more I've taken time to do those things for myself, the more I notice that I'm able to actually approach other, interactions and relationships with more kindness and empathy because I've been able to give myself that.
That's so true. Yes.
Yes, definitely. I think it's important to be able to not only extend that to other people, but remembering that it's important to extend that to yourself, or else in reality, you can bring yourself down. You really can. And the more you are kind to yourself, I think the more you witness what you bring to the table as far as, everyday interactions, your happiness, success, and whether success doesn't have to be big things, it can be small things, things you accomplish throughout the day. But I think it's easier to reach those goals whenever you are being positive.
I agree. So, like you say, you have to force yourself. You know, even after you've been doing it for a while, there's still those times where it's like, you know, you're just so down and you don't even want to think about, oh, how can I make myself happy? I'm just going to stay here and be miserable. I mean, that's what we tend to do. And then the next day is another day. But, you know, even in that moment to kind of force yourself, just take some little step. And next thing you know, it opens up something else. You just have to, you know, just keep pushing forward. It's not easy, but it certainly is something that is very, very beneficial.
Definitely. I'm a big TV show watcher sometimes
Right?
when I do have free time. And so I love Disney. And I was watching, I think, how they created Frozen. I remember Kristen Bell talking about the song in Frozen 2, where it was like, just take the step. The next thing to do is do the next right thing. What's the next right
Right.
thing for you? Okay. And it's linear.
I
Just
love that
maybe I get out of bed
messaging
and
too. Yes.
yes, pour myself a cup of coffee. And so even though
It's
it's a
right.
kid's show, it really touched me.
I know, I
And
agree. And you know, just to take that in and to listen to something like that can really be life altering. You know, just shift gears in your mind. You just kind of flip a switch, and you can, you know, get to the next thing. And once you're able to check something off, then you feel like, okay, it's kind of a whole new mindset, and you can all of a sudden, you know, the same exact thing can happen to you one day that can happen the next, and you have a completely different point of view about it. And so why not have the best, you know, outlook that you possibly can, because there's just so much we can control, and thankfully that's one of the things that we can, is how we interpret and what our perspective is. We don't have to jump on the bandwagon with everybody else. It's what feels right to us, and knowing
yeah.
that we're coming from a good place and being kind, loving, caring, and sharing is what it's all about. That'll make the difference in the long run.
Definitely, and I think we talk about big differences in the world, but sometimes the biggest difference you can make, and it can sound a little cheesy, but it's true, is taking those small steps towards caring, sharing, kindness in
Definitely.
everyday interaction. And I think that's one of the most important things to me. And so you don't have to do grand things. You can just
No,
be a good
good
a light
person.
in someone's life. Yes,
Right.
I think that is one of the number one things to be able to extend to those bigger successes.
Well, Malia, certainly on behalf of the foundation and my brother, and in Jen's spirit, I'm so thankful that you were the person that was selected. You certainly, as I mentioned, checked off all the boxes that existed for the criteria of this presidential scholarship, and the fact that it's for all 4 years and has impacted you so positively, and you can take all of that good out into the world, and the fact that you're going international. I'm happy that you're going back to New Mexico someday to be able to bring all of that good back to an area that you love so much and has been so good to you in your years growing up. And I look forward to our paths crossing again and getting to see you and continuing to talk about such fabulous things that are, that we're capable of doing for one another. But thank you for being who you are, and the recipient of Jen's the endowment presidential scholarship is, so exciting, and I'm just so honored to get to meet you and chat with you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think I'm very, very extremely honored to be able to represent not only Jen, but the foundation you guys have built. And
Thank you.
I think on a more personal level, just being able to have these conversations has just brought immense joy to my day. And so I cannot wait to cross paths with you and Mike, hopefully in person one day.
Definitely.
And we will definitely grab coffee and green chili.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, good to know it's green. And yeah, Jen would love you, and I know she's definitely very pleased with the selection that's been made, and very proud to have somebody like you representing her name.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lee. I look forward. I'll get in touch with you the next time I come out your way, and I'll get you the contact information for Rachel. She would love that, because she was the driving force right away, Mike said, to keep this going. So it's very important, and we thank Wells Fargo too for getting this started in the first place that Jen was a part of. So UNM is a school that Jen and Mike both love. They transferred out there from Vermont, which I didn't want them to, but in the long run, I guess they needed to do what they needed to do, and it served them well, and they had a great life going on in Albuquerque for 20 years. So thankfully, we can continue that great spirit and keep things going in a real positive way, thanks to people like you.
Thank you very much, and I will definitely extend that to Rachel. And
thank you, Malia.
I'm extremely grateful to you, Mike, and I'm honored to be able to represent Jen, and I hope she would have loved me just as much.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt you would have been buddies. Yeah. Okay, thanks again. Enjoy your day. Good luck with school today.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.